Up so early. Man, it's good to be here this morning with you. I got a text from my mom and dad this morning, and they said they're sitting around the kitchen table with the old radio dusted off. So, good morning, mom and dad. Thanks for tuning in. And everyone else out there on your way to work, or maybe you're sitting around the kitchen table with your old phonograph out. We were talking this morning about how many people don't have a radio these days in their home. Of course, we have it in our car and everything. I listen to the radio, every time I get in the car, I'm listening to talk radio. Go figure, right? But I started thinking about it. I don't have a radio in my house. I use my phone, and thank God that we have the technology. If you don't have a radio in your house, download the app, the Freedom 96.9 app, and you can get this streaming live. You can get it in the archive after the fact. So if you missed the show, you can always go back and find the show later. You can always go to freedom969.com and you can catch it there. So there's access. Maybe you're outside of the listening area in far eastern Oklahoma. You can still catch it on the app or on the website on freedom969.com. So even better than a radio in your house is the little device in your hand that we can access the world with. It is kind of scary, though. I had a meeting. We were talking about a few things that could be sensitive. And so before the meeting started, we gathered up all the phones and we took them to the other room because guess what? They're always listening. You got to remember that. I mean, I even the Roomba I learned, it actually maps your house out. Now, of course, that's part of the technology of the vacuum cleaner. It's a little robotic vacuum. It reminds me of the Jetsons. I don't know if they had a Roomba in the Jetsons, but they should have. And it circulates throughout your house, mapping out your house. So the question is, where does that technology go and who has access to it? So we're living in some interesting times today. So, but you know what? I got up and it was raining. It's raining outside, sprinkling. It was sprinkling when I got in my car, and it got a little bit heavier on the way to the station this morning. And tell you what I thought about. First of all, I'm just thankful for the moisture in Oklahoma after the summer that we had, the drought that we went through. I'm thankful for the rain every time I see it. But what came to mind, I believe it's Matthew 5:24. It says that God causes it to rain on the just and the unjust. You to have hope, because hope is critical in this day. Take heart, take hope. Don't listen to the news, turn it off, go watch the rain, and thank God that his love is offered to all. Because as long as we have hope and the desire for comfort, the desire to stay in bed, the desire to take the easy route, take the hard route. I don't know if you've ever followed David Goggins, but, Navy SEAL, he has an incredible testimony. I think he has a book called You Can't Stop Me. To just do something hard every day. Do something hard. And then he has this crazy video. I may have to post it on my Jake for the State Facebook page so you can see it. But he has his hands tied behind his back, his feet bound together. He's outside, it looks like in his boxers, and he dives off a dock into a pond, and he starts flopping around, swimming across this pond. Crazy video. Of course, he's a former Navy SEAL. He knows hard training and challenges and things like that. But he's working his way across this pond, and his wife is actually filming it. And she said, yeah, he does this all the time. This isn't like, okay, get involved in the fight. And the fight starts with you, my friend. See, it's in fact, the problem starts at the freedom. The path to freedom starts with yourself. And you're going to hear on here, and I'm going to do more than just preach about it. I want to give you practical tips and offer some suggestions about how to overcome yourself, because if you can't overcome yourself, then I say you can't overcome anything. I mean, how strong are you truly? What true convictions do you actually have? And so, again, I used to do this a while back, but, we've been talking about ice baths. And so I'm taking a cold shower in the morning, and there is not a morning that I want to do it. Not one single morning do I wake up looking forward to a cold shower, but I do it. I submit myself to it. I get under sometimes I can just jump in the cold, but most of the time I found myself, I got to start lukewarm and ease my way into it, and I'm talking about like the cold that makes you go, like you can't catch your breath. And so this is my daily routine. I actually I knocked out my workout this morning. I got my daughter. She's 13 years old. It's part of her routine now. So we're training our family in the way to go. These, I believe, are critical things. It actually has the preservation of our country. You can boil it down to local, but I always get personal. Let's get personal first. Then we branch out from there to go local. And I'm going to be talking a little bit later about a man who is engaged locally. He's standing up to the school board in Piedmont, Oklahoma. I was there at the school board meeting a couple of weeks ago. Board, but to the superintendent about an injustice that was done to his son. He was bold enough to stand and call him out and call for the resignation of the superintendent there at Piedmont. Some very interesting news happening locally. And I'm going to have him on the show here pretty soon, I believe. But he's a friend of mine, and I admire him because he's actually standing up, getting engaged, letting his voice be heard. And guess what? He was afraid. I mean, he was not looking forward to the school board meeting and having to do what needed to be done. And we got to understand that there are things that are required of you that are not comfortable. They're not things that you're excited about doing, but they need to be done. No soldier is looking forward to running into fire. Even whenever I ran for Congress and then I ran for Senate and then being in the Senate, and being, having the mic there on my desk, knowing that it was time to debate, it was time to stand up and take the mic and speak to an issue. It's never a comfortable thing, but it's required. And without that, you've heard it said that evil prevails when good men do nothing. And so when good men sit back and take the easy way and just hope someone else will cover it, guess what? It's not going to be covered. It's not going to be it will be covered by your enemy. They'll happily take that ground. But that can't happen. So taking ground first thing in the morning. Practice the discipline of self-discipline. It's just self-discipline and radiates out in your life. You'll be amazed at how it begins to influence those circles around you. Let it start with your up and going and engaged and disciplined. We homeschool my youngest, and she has a routine in the morning. We get her up, and it's laid out, and this is what we're going to do. And after, but nothing else is. And so I got my third. How's it going? I was like, well, it's going as good as it can go with a hormonal teenager. Have patience with each other, and it's all good. But this effort must be applied to ourselves. Next week, actually, I just scheduled this morning, Dr. Mark Sherwood. And he's going to be on air with me, knowing over your health than Dr. Mark Sherwood. He's actually my personal doctor. I love and respect him dearly. He's going to be on the show next week. This morning, I had Congressman Josh Burkeen scheduled, but there was a scheduling conflict. Some of you may have seen the post yesterday about the show today that I would have him on today, but there was a scheduling conflict last minute. So we've rescheduled him for tomorrow. So I'm really looking forward to that conversation with Congressman Josh Burkeen here representing Oklahoma well. And, he's going to be on tomorrow. We're going to be talking about this latest House Speaker vote and how he was one of the 20 who stood against the majority, stood against what was popular, did not take the easy way, but he took the necessary way. And he stood up strong. And I was so proud of him, thankful that he was representing Oklahoma up there. There was others from Oklahoma up there that did not take that hard stand, who went with the majority, who went with what I would say is the establishment. And, it's interesting hearing from people that were frustrated with the 20 who took a stand. And I just don't understand it. I don't understand the mentality, because that is the nature, that is the heartbeat of the republic, is debate, not going with the flow, not just going with party politics, but coming back to principle. And man, this whole conversation right now, when I've started, is a talk about principle. About what do you believe, what is necessary in your life. So, we have a representative up there in Washington representing Oklahoma with principle, and I'm so thankful for Congressman Josh. Looking forward to that conversation tomorrow. This morning, I have a great, interesting guest here. She jumped in here to fill in last minute, but her name is Arlie, and she's an everyday woman, a businesswoman, an entrepreneur, but she stepped in at a time when it was necessary to do what was needed and helped run a major campaign with no prior experience, just a heart full of conviction. So we're going to go to a break here. I'm going to come back and introduce you to Arlie and hear her story. I know it's going to inspire you. You are listening to Freedom. Now, this is the Jake Merrick Show. I'll see you in a second.
Freedom. Traffic. We now take you to our eye in the sky.
All right, couple of problems working on this slick Wednesday morning. Northbound I-44 near Southwest 15th. Also, Lake Hefner Parkway at Hefner. Yukon to downtown 24 minutes. Midwest City to downtown 19 minutes. Norman to downtown 28 minutes. Edmond to downtown 23. Said some slick roads out there. Give yourself a little extra time. The rain will be ending this morning. Sunny, cool, and 62 this afternoon.
We're Talk Radio, the new Freedom 96.9. Set a button and tell a friend that freedom rings on 96.9 FM. We're the new Freedom 96.9.
Tune in to the Financial Jungle with Zach Taylor.
We find huge pleasure in making sure that you're taken care of well into a retirement.
Retirement planning doesn't have to be complicated.
We try to educate as to what is a smart financial move. You know, are you looking to make a quick buck, or are you trying to retire and maintain your current lifestyle?
Tune in to the Financial Jungle. Saturdays and Sundays at 8 a.m. right here on 96.9.
When a cold strong, knock it out with Vicks DayQuil Severe for max strength daytime relief. First, go with Vicks DayQuil Severe. The daytime.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Starting trouble. No one likes that. We'll get you set up for some stronger starts. You might just need a fresh charge, and we'll take care of that free of charge. But if it is time for a new battery, we've got replacements that'll fit your needs, starting at just $79.99. You can learn more about our battery selection at AutoZone.com. That's what makes us America's #1 battery destination.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Claim based on data from the NPD Group 2021.
A strong voice on a clear static-free signal. Freedom 96.9 and freedom969.com. Oklahoma's new home for talk radio. Freedom969.com. Oklahoma's new home for talk radio. Dan Bongino.
One of them's a lawyer, too, Sonny Hostin, who's one of the biggest imbeciles on TV. I had this sincere displeasure of sitting in green rooms with her at CNN. One of the dumbest human beings you've ever. How she graduated law school makes me seriously question even some of my own lawyers. I'm like, gosh, you didn't go to the same law school as Sonny Hostin?
On the new Freedom 96.9.
Welcome back. This is Jake Merrick. It is 7:20 on this wet Wednesday morning. This morning, I have a very special guest with me, Miss Arlie Schroeder from the big town of Okarche. Welcome, Arlie.
Good morning, Jake. I'm happy to be here.
Man, it's so good to have you. Listening audience have no idea who you are, but they need to know who you are. I think that your story is incredible because it's something that everybody listening this morning can relate to. And it's the story of someone stepping up to the plate. That's how I started this show, is talking about self-discipline, doing what's way. And that's what I saw with you. And so the first time I met you was during the where I met you. And so talk to me about, well, first of all, introduce yourself and let people know who you are, and then how and why you jumped in to help manage Frank Urbanek's campaign for mayor of Oklahoma City.
Look, I feel like I say nobody, but I mean, I'm just an everyday person. I have a full-time job. I work full-time. And what happened, I've just been frustrated in the past several years. I would say the past 5 years, I've just been super frustrated. I've never been in politics before. I have never been interested in what the government is doing because I'm like, I'm just trying to live my life. I have never been in my life. I'm trying to, succeed. I am just on my path of trying to live life, trying to do my things, be responsible, get ahead in life and all those things. Well, in the past 5 years, I was super frustrated, and God had just put it on my heart for a long time. Like, Arlie, and I was just complaining. I felt myself complaining all the time about what is going on in our community, what is going on in our community and around us. And God has just put it on my heart for a long time. He's like, Arlie, just this voice, just like, you have to quit complaining and take action. But the problem is I did this voice, just like, you have to quit complaining and take action. But the problem is I didn't know where friends, I didn't have a good friend. How can I serve? How can I serve? So anyway, so then what happened was I served on social media somewhere, and I saw that he had sued our governor, and which is not popular, and also sued Mayor Holt for shutting down businesses during the height of COVID. So somehow I saw him on social. Friend requested him. I said, thank you for standing up for people in our community. Thanks for standing up, because I just didn't see that happening. So I messaged him, and that was it. Then he announced that he was running for mayor. And so I was like, okay, I was friends with the guy on social media. You know how you're friends with people you don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I had been posting things on there that just, my frustrations. And he had messaged me and he had said, hey, Arlie, do you want to come I'm having a fundraiser for Tom O'Connor. And I'm like, I don't know this guy. And he's like, you can be my guest. He was hosting a small fundraiser at his home. And I was like, okay, well, Arlie, you've been, asking like, okay, how are you going to get involved? So I went to that by myself, which is very intimidating. I don't know anyone. It's not something you want to do by yourself. So I went there, and so that was my first. I made a donation of like $250 or something to John O'Connor. And then I met Linda Hannenborg, a friend of mine who is Women's Republican, Oklahoma City Women's Republican Club. And she told me, she's like, you need to join the Oklahoma Women's Republican Club. Okay. Well, so that had happened too. Well, so I joined Oklahoma Women's Republican Club, and then back to Frank. So sorry, I'm going back to Frank. So then with Frank, I just had said, hey, thanks for doing that. Then he announced he was running for mayor. So I immediately messaged him on social media and said, hey, bold action before. And so I donated just a little bit of money. And then what happened was I said, let me know how I can volunteer. And so he said, okay, thank you so much. And then what happened was I said, let me know how I can volunteer. And so he said, okay, thank you so much. Then he had the kickoff. He had a campaign kickoff. And so I said, okay. I said, well, I'm going to go to this. I was trying to find someone to go with me because I'm like, I don't want to go by myself. This is, so intimidating. What am I going to do here? So I reached out to a friend and finally found someone who really, cares about the community and what's going on. I was like, hey, will you go with me to this? And he's like, Harley, I don't really want to go. Anyway, but he ended up meeting me there because I just did not want to go by myself. So Frank saw me across the room, came over and said hi. So had that kickoff. Carol Hefner introduced him. And anyway, so went to kickoff and did. And then so I messaged him again and said, okay, I want to volunteer. How do I start this? Well, and then so I messaged him again and said, okay, I want to volunteer. How do I start this? Well, so then from there, everything just sort of snowballed, I guess. God, whenever God just puts it on your heart, and then he just paves the way.
Yes, he does.
So I mean, yeah, he just paves the